Next question. Looking back on the ICO craze of 2017, 2018, can you honestly say that most were scams that were just in the business to raise free Ethereum? Good question. Yeah, I mean, looking at the space and now knowing what we know now, I think there were lots of opportunists, right? I won't quite say outright scams, but there are lots of projects, if anything, that were legal scams. I mean, they saw a chance to raise money without giving away any equity. They saw a chance to take money from people, put out a project, and say their work is done. Thank you. So it was really the wild, wild west. And I think because people were making money initially, they let that happen. But once the swan song was over, and once the music stopped playing, and people were left holding bags, then people began to get upset. And that's when everything came crashing and the bubble popped. So I think it was definitely not a good time, right? Because looking back at it, most projects are either dead or illiquid or both. And then regulation and compliance with the SEC and other organizations made things even worse. But I think they had to step in because things were getting worse. They had to step in to protect investors because people were losing money. So, I mean, I think it was definitely a tough time, interesting time. Looking back at it, I think everybody now has learned from it. The space is getting more mature. Can't really say that those times will end because the market moves in cycles. You have bull markets and bear markets, and opportunists and speculators are always there, whether it's especially in a bull market. So I mean, going back to the question, I mean, they were definitely the projects were definitely looking to raise money from people without having to give equity, and the space has gotten better as a result of it. It was almost something that unfortunately we had to do, because if we didn't go through those growing pains and learn from those bad projects, things would stay like that and get worse, right? So it's kind of like with any industry, right? Before, it's the wild, wild west. Then people lose money, bad things happen, and then people now want regulation and some compliance and some rules, and they want people to act like adults. Because the reason why raising money through crypto was so innovative was because anybody could participate and invest, and because anybody could start a project and get funding and build the next Ethereum. So once we had that big win, so going back to what I said earlier, what the wise man does in the beginning, the fool does in the end, right? So we could say the wise man was maybe Vitalik with Ethereum doing one of the first ICOs, one of the first, probably, yeah, I would say the first big ICO, raising $18 million. And then you had other people now look at that. And then eventually we had fools raising money via ICOs as well. And that's when it was the end game. So it's unfortunate that people had to go through times and experiences like that. But I think at the end, we've all come out better. Unfortunate that some people had to lose money.